Yo. Let's go, guys. Cybeast coming at you with a brand new video. Today we're going to be going through and looking at all of the cards coming out in Pokemon Scarlet Violet, Black Bolt, and White Flare. The set releases in just about 3 weeks, 2.5, 3 weeks. And I want to look through and see all the cards. I've looked at them a little bit myself, but haven't really dove into them. So we'll have to see what I think is going to be good, what I think is going to be kind of bad. I'll let you know if it's going to be GLC good or standard good or just a bulk card, or hope that you like the artwork. At the end, we'll also go through all of the visual looks. We'll do a visual look through of the art rares. Let's go, guys. Cybeast coming at you. Today we're going to be going through Pokemon Scarlet and Violet's next set, which is Black Bolt and White Flare. The first double set in US. I believe it might be the first double set outside of Japan in general. I'm not 100% sure on that. But it comes out July 18th, so I want to take a quick look through it and get an idea of how good some of the cards are going to be, whether they're going to be good for GLC, whether they're going to be good for standard format, or if it's just going to be a card that, if you like the Pokemon, you'll want to add to your collection, especially when we get to the end and we go through all of the art rares and special illustration rares and the hypers. I think there's some hypers. If not, I don't know. Now they're doing a lot of things with this set, with the Pokeball reverses, the Master Ball reverses, an art rare for every single Pokemon. Well, art rare, or SIR. And then they also have some special ones for Reshiram and Zekrom, I believe. So we'll get into all of that. Without any further ado, let's get into the actual set. So I'm just going to go through it straight through. If there's anyone that I want to bring extra attention to, we'll spend some time on it. If they're kind of bad, I'm just going to go over them and say they're bad. Here's Snivy and Servine. Pretty decent. Snivy is Buddy Poffinable, 70 HP. That's like one of those key things we look for with a Stage 1. Hits for a single energy, retreats, nothing crazy. Servine, 100 HP. That feels really good for bench right now because it doesn't die to Darmanitan in Zoroark. It doesn't die to Raging Bolt, the Baby Bolt, unless they have 4 energy, and it takes additional energies being attached to Screamtail. But if you're playing this deck, you're probably also playing the Shaman because it's grass. So if you want to run bug catching sets and things of that nature, if you're running purely grass Pokemon, it's beneficial to help find it, especially with Shaman not being Buddy Poffin searchable at 80 HP. The Superior itself has a pretty solid ability. Royal Cheer attacks you to this Pokemon, do 20 more damage to your opponent's active Pokemon. No, it just says attacks. It doesn't say attacks this Pokemon has. So things like TMs. So technically late game you can Crisis Punch for 300. You can I mean, that's really the only one that has damage. The other one is a Snipe for 100. But it's grass and 3 colorless. Grass order, 150 damage. Search your deck for up to 3 cards and put them in your hand and shuffle your deck. Basically telling your opponent, if you don't disrupt me with an Iono, with a Judge, I have a perfect turn set up for next turn. Basically, no matter what they do. Because you're able to look at the board state and just set yourself up for success. So overall, I think that's a pretty solid Pokemon. I think it'll have a spot in the meta. It might be tier 2 to start, and then after some more stuff comes out, it could see its way moving up. But I think it's worth having some. Like I would definitely get a couple when the set drops. Coming down, Pansage and Simisage, not even GLC good. If there's a Simisage that's actually good, I think this Pansage might be the best one because you can Buddy Poffin for it. Has Collect, so if you start it in GLC, it's not terrible. But I don't know if there's really any Simisages that are playable, so I'd say probably just bulk unless you like the Pokemon. Petalil and Lilligant, yeah, just not good. Not good. Uh, Technically, you could use this Petalil for the Lilligant that gives the extra damage for your evolution Pokemon. I believe it's if you're, or extra damage to your grass and fire types. I forget exactly what it is. I know there's a Lilligant that boosts damage in some way, shape, or form. And you could potentially use this Petalil for that. It's 60 HP and it has Hide, so if you really have to start it, you can try to cheese out an extra turn. But, I mean, it's not really... If you're in that situation, it's kind of just a GG go next anyways. Maractus, it's not the Maractus that traps, so it doesn't really matter. Kind of mid. I mean, GLC, 120 for 1 if you heal. I don't know how consistently you can heal in GLC. So maybe you could do something with this, but not likely. Carablast. If you have a Carablast and a Shelmet in play, they can both evolve. So there's potential for that, but not even in GLC. Once again, with the GLC, if there's old versions of these, this would be the one to play, especially if you can play it with the Shelmet. But I don't know how those typings work within GLC. The Amoonguss, just not good. Never mind, I didn't read the plus 120. Foongus, it just poisons your opponent's Pokemon. Amoonguss, dangerous reaction for a single colorless, 30 plus if your opponent's active Pokemon is affected by a special condition. This deck does 120 more damage, so 150 for 1 could be decent, but I don't know if this would see play in the current grass deck. I know the grass deck is currently one of the better ones. But you could find an off-meta version of grass, I guess, where you're doing status effects and attacking with this guy. Sawaddle and Swadloon, Leavanny. I mean, nothing really crazy on these. Cottony is here. I mean, 60 HP. I don't know if there's another Cottony or Whimsicott in the format that's 70. If there is, you'd play that if you want to play Whimsicott EX. For grass, energy gift, search your deck for up to 3 basic energy cards attached to your Pokemon any way you like. So, I mean, it's just a better Turbo Energize. It's on a stage 1, so like you can't get it out immediately unless you Salvatore. Like turn 2 going first, Salvatore into this, and then accelerate energy. But at that point, you're also leaving a 230 HP 2 prizer in the active. It is free retreat. I didn't notice that, so that's kind of decent. And then Wonder Cotton for another, once again, so both of his attacks are single grass. 50x, your opponent reveals their hand, has 50 damage for each trainer card you find there. So there's potential for this with like Vadoos. Maybe. I still don't think it's really, I don't see a spot for it currently in the meta, but that could change. I don't see anything right now for it. Deerling and Sawsbuck, kind of meh. If you like the Pokemon, hopefully the stuff at the end looks really cool. Here's the Shelmet. So both of them are grass. The Acelgor, you do evolve into this and do 50 damage, and if heads, yeah, this one's just not good. There's probably better Acelgors. I think there's one a couple sets ago that would be kind of cool to play with this that had something to do with status effects. Virizion. So this is our last grass Pokemon. Virizion, Giga Drain, heal 30 or deal 30 damage and heal the same amount that you dealt. And then grass, colorless, 130, and during this next turn it can attack. It's bad. It is just Sword of Justice did not get. We did not do justice to this Sword of Justice. I don't think we did justice to any of them in this set, from what I've heard. But we'll see. Moving on to the fire. Victini, 120 damage for 2 fire. If you have 4 or fewer Pokemon on your bench, this tech does nothing. 120 even with the fire weakness. It doesn't really hit that number we need. If it did 130, so you could knock out things like Goldengo. I mean, exclusively Goldengo in this instance, as like a return knockout attack. It'd be cool, but you're better off just using the um, Mega Fire Envy Chi-Yu as that sort of situation. And then we have Tepig, once again, 70. Very similar to the Snivy in terms of it has a 10 damage attack for 1, a 30 damage attack for 2. Pignite has 110 HP, so it's even bulkier. It's also 3 retreat, which is a bit of a concern, but I don't think you're too worried about it. Embor, Inferno Fandango, same as what it was originally back in the day, to my understanding. This card is going to be played at some point. Just attach fire energy from your hands to one of your Pokemon as often as you like. It is Baxcalibur for fire. I think it's going to be really beneficial. I don't know if there's anything currently that really needs fire that much to be crazy. But once Baxcalibur is out, which Baxcalibur has not been getting played, I could see this potentially seeing some more play than Baxcalibur did in recent times, if there's enough attackers that require fire to do some crazy stuff. But we'll have to see how it plays out. This is one I once again would say it's worth having a play set of each of them in case you ever want to run it. Darumaka and Darmanitan, for 4, you do 180 and discard 2 energy. If your opponent flip a coin, yeah, I mean, you can't buddy for the Darumaka, the Darmanitan. It takes 4 energy, and you discard it, so it's iffy. 180 is not anything crazy. Maybe in a deck that has like the Embor, whether it's the old one or the new one, you could use this. 140 is a little bulky. 180 is hitting hard as can be. I just don't know if you have enough energy to constantly be discarding to hit the 180. So potential for this in GLC, but nothing in standard, at least to my understanding. Once again, all of the elemental monkeys, Panseer, Pampor, and Pansage, and their evolutions are kind of just identical to the other one. So once again, 70 HP, can draw a card. Simisear is bad. Heatmore, Tunketch, search your deck for up to 3 any combination of fire Pokemon and basic fire energy, rather than putting your hand and shuffle your deck. This could be a very interesting, like, in a pure fire type deck, something like the Ethan's Typhlosion that we've been seeing. This is a turn 1 going second Ethan's Adventure, basically. But can get you things other than Ethan's Pokemon. Obviously, if this had the additional text of this attack can be used on your first turn, goated card, phenomenal. Would run it in, like, would make a lot of decks more viable. But without that, I just think it's a little too slow for standard. GLC, if you're running a fire deck, I see no reason you don't splash this in. Because it doesn't have to be your first turn. At any point in time, you get this guy into the active. 120 is a little beefy. A single attach, and you can just set yourself up. And you can even do this back-to-back turns while your opponent's still setting up. So I think this would be a good GLC card for fire decks to have access to. And give you that consistency of finding the Pokemon you need. It doesn't have to be basic fire Pokemon, so you can find your evolutions this way. And you get energy, which allows you to use things like Welder, and you can search for the energy. And you could get 2 energy and an Embor, and then when you already have a Pignite on board, and the next turn attach the 2 energy from your hand and do whatever you need to do. Moving into another lovely evolutionary line, Litwick, 60 HP. Look at the top card of your deck. You might discard that card. So Scry. You just get a Scry 1. Oh no, because Scry would put it to the bottom. But yeah, you look at the top card. Is it good? Oh, I'm keeping it. Oh, it's bad? Trash it. Lampet for 1. It's 80 HP, 50 damage. Discard energy from this Pokemon. So kind of mid. Chandelure, Explosive Flame, 50 plus. If you have at least 10 basic fire energy and discard, this does 100 more damage. Late game hit for 150 on a stage 2 just doesn't sound all that good. For 2, you are doing 180 and you're discarding all energy from this Pokemon. So it can help build itself up to that point. I just think in GOC it's still probably a bit too slow to really get there. Larvesta, 60, pack off, 10 damage, 14 damage. Okay, so it's just 10 damage, discard all Pokemon tools from your opponent's active Pokemon. We've seen that attack in many different ways. Volcarona, ability, once on your turn, discard a basic fire energy from your hand in order to leave your opponent's active Pokemon burned. So it's nobody get a status condition, which is kind of cool. I know there's a few different ones that do that, and I think that's, this is a new way to get a status condition to get that extra damage. I don't know how playable it will be because it is a stage 1, so you're either running like a 1-1 line or at most like a 2-2 line if you really need it in a deck. But then you're still going to need to be playing fire energy and having it in hand to discard when you need to, which isn't super difficult at the moment with things like Earthen Vessel, Energy Retrieval, etc., etc. But it's something to still think about, that they can do this. In all honesty, I think that it's still more likely that we just have, like, if people want to do burn stuff, they're just going to have Latias, because it'll probably be some big basic decks, and they'll just run Volcanion, promote him after you get a knockout, burn you, free retreat, and whatever they're attacking with, and go from there. Now, it's a little bit more straightforward, I feel. Reshiram, 230 HP, colorless / 50 damage. Okay, nothing crazy there. Fire, colorless, blaze burst, 130 plus damage. Stat does 50 more damage for each prize card your opponent has taken. Discard an energy from this Pokemon. So for 3, you do 130, and then 50 more for each prize card. So it's like a baby Charizard. I say baby. It starts lower. Once they've taken 4 prizes, you're hitting for... You hit for 330 if they've taken 4. Charizard, when they've taken 4, you're hitting for 300. So this outpaces Charizard late game. And it's a basic. I see this as just a good card. In a deck that, if you're running fire and you have a way to accelerate energy, whether you're running the Armor Rouge box with Ho-Oh, whether you're running Charizard and you just get this out and you evolve Charizard and attach all your energy to this. That one I feel probably a little less likely circumstance, but it's something you could do if you wanted. Or if you do something with this and the inboard, then I think this is a good card. I think this will definitely see some play. It will never be a main attacker. It'll be a probably a one of in decks, and it'll be that, hey, your opponent's got 2 prizes left, you've got 2 prizes left, this is your cleanup attacker. It hits like a truck. So yes, I definitely think this will see some play and be pretty solid. Moving on to the water-type Pokemon. Panpour, once again, same thing. Draw a card, 70 HP. We've been over it. Simipour, we've been over it. Pretty ass. Oshawott, same thing. 70, 10, 30. Like, they made the exact same card for all 3 starters, which I personally am a fan of. I like this more so than them showing some favoritism in ways to, one of them being a lot better than the others. Dewott, this attack does 30 damage for each energy attached to this Pokemon. So if you have more energy attached, you can hit a little bit harder. Otherwise, it's just 30 damage. It's 100 HP. Once again, we talked about it. It feels like, in general, they're starting to bump up Stage 1 Pokemon to be over 90. Which I like, because it means that some of these ones that are going to be a little bit better, you can't put them into old decks, like into Expanded or GLC, and have the better version of it and level ball for it, which is kind of cool, kind of interesting they're doing, or is just happening due to the natural power creep of the TCG. From there, Samurott, I wish it was better. It's not terrible, though. Once during your turn, you may switch your active Pokemon with one of your bench Pokemon, then your opponent switches their active Pokemon with one of their bench Pokemon. So stage 2 that once per turn you played Escape Rope. Obviously, with Escape Rope not being in format, the only way you're really getting this effect would be this card, or using. I mean, there's nothing that does full Escape Rope. This is Escape Rope. There's ones that do the second half of it, like the Mabastiff from Scarlet Violet Base, and the Iron Bundle from Paradox Rift, or I forget which set it was, but the Iron Bundle that people actually play. But it's still just not. It's not really worth ever getting to this, I feel like. I could see this potentially in a control style water build in GLC. I could see this having potential there. But as a whole, it's just in standard, it's the worst of the 3 starters by far. Which is unfortunate because I really like this line as much as I dislike Samurot's actual design. Basculin, 50 front side focus, damage counter before this attack. It does nothing, so you have to have already done damage for this to do anything to them. Not that good. Ducklet and Swanna. Firefighting, discard a fire energy from your opponent's active Pokemon. This is very matchup dependent, so it's not super common, and you're already winning that sort of a matchup in GLC, so not really a useful attack. For 3 colorless, Swanna can do 120 with Air Slash, and you can discard an energy. So it is colorless, so you can technically splash these into other colors or other types in standard or other formats that aren't GLC. But in GLC, it's just not that good, I'd feel. Vanillite, Vanillish, and Vanillux. I don't think these really have anything going for them. They're just kind of there. Timpole, Palpitoad, and Seismitoad all have round. And based on the Pokemon you have in play that have the round attack, they do more damage. So 20x, 40x, and 70x. And then Seismitoad, also has 160 damage Hyper Voice for 4. Unless they give us a lot more Pokemon that have round as an attack, this isn't that good. Maybe in expanded, if there's other Pokemon that have the same attack of round, and you're able to stack them all together and have a 70 hitting for 4 of them, you're hitting 280, or 70 hitting for 5, you're hitting 350. It gets up there, but for the most part, I just don't see it being super viable. Here's something I'm looking forward to. I never got to play with Trashalanche, and we have the spiritual successor, or not spiritual, direct successor of Ancient Debris. 30 damage. This attack does 30 damage for each item card in your opponent's discard pile. And it's on 100 HP stage 1. It is a stage 1 that evolves from a fossil. A lot of people at first were, including myself, were like, man, 30 is crazy. But it is item cards, and we have to remember that back in the day, tools were items. And so that extra distinction has been added, which means most people run no more than 2 to 4 tools in most decks, so it's not as big as it might have been in the past, but it's still cards that can end up in discard that do not boost Tortuga. Its evolution, Caracosta. Damage on this Pokemon by attacks from your opponent's Pokemon that have special energy attached. I don't know how much special energy is going to be printed in this and how much it's going to get run. But you could use this as a way to beef up your Tortuga and make it a little beefier and survive against decks that run special energy. And you're able to still use that Ancient Debris attack because of the Relicanth that's still going to be in format. So you can just have a beefier Tortuga using these attacks, which is kind of cool. Alomomola. When you're in an active spot, you can put a basic Pokemon set in HP illustrator and discard pile onto your bench. I don't really see a spot for this. I don't think it's anything that would be necessary currently. But I could see some cool plays you could do with it. I just think there's better things to play than this. But a cool ability and interesting ability nonetheless. If it was free retreat, it would also be way better. But that's obviously not the case. Cubchoo and Beartick, just so bad. They're adorable Cubchoo. Beartic looks just very Cragonal, switch it when your opponent's active Pokemon, or bench Pokemon to the active spot, and it does 20 damage to it, and then Icicle for 30, just not good. Kyurem is an interesting one. Once again, Slash for 2, 50 damage. Blizzard Burst, 130 damage for Water Colorless, so it's the exact same attack costs and attack style as Reshiram. And then does 10 damage to each of your opponent's bench Pokemon for each prize card your opponent has taken. So if they've taken 4, you're doing 40 to each of them. So this is a progressively more spread attacker every time that like you're attacking with it. So this is one I could see some interesting things happening with, especially as we start to see more less Terra Pokemon around. The only issue is the Shaman. But you can probably find ways around that in certain decks to avoid the need to worry about it. Keldeo has Water Colorless, Gale Thrust, 30 plus, and if it moves from bench to active, it does 90 more. So you can hit for 120 for 2 energy, or for 3, do 120 for Shred. Unless there is a deck that can accelerate energy, including water energy, very fast, and needs a Shred attacker that can hit over a certain threshold, I don't think this card ever sees play. I don't think it will ever see play. It is just not good. Once again, the Swords of Justice have not been done well, in my opinion. They've dropped the ball on them. Blitzel and Zebstrika. I think for GLC, 100 and then 30 to a bench is not bad. It is 3 energy, but I'm sure you can find ways to accelerate that in electric decks. Emolga, Call for Family. I mean, very few times that you would ever really need this. Maybe in GLC it's worth it, but like currently in Standard we have Miraidon, so if you're playing an electric deck where you'd want to Call for Family, you just want the Miraidon instead in Tandem Unit because it's this attack but doesn't end your turn. Joltik, 40 HP, nothing good. We've already got the good Joltik in format. Discard all electric energy from this Pokemon. This does 50 damage for each card you discard in this way. Could potentially find its way into the Joltik box deck, but I don't think it will because currently the other... Sorry, I'm fixing my sleep schedule. I'm moving to night shifts, so if I'm yawning throughout, I do apologize. What I was saying is the Grass Energy Galvantula is already in there, and it covers more matchup stuff than this electric one would, so I don't think this will see much play. Up next is a big one for competitive, in my opinion, both currently with Miraidon and even afterwards. It opens up a new type of energy to be played more freely, I feel like. We have Tynamo, 40 HP, free retreat, heal 10 damage from this Pokemon. You're never attacking with this. This thing goes on the bench and you hope it don't die, because it evolves into Electric Dynamotor. Once during your turn, attach a basic Lightning Energy card from your discard pile to one of your bench Pokemon. We all know Dynamotor, or almost anyone who's played at any point has had Dynamotor. It's been on Electric before, and on it was on Flaffy when I first got into the game for a very brief time frame. Despite being effectively functionally identical to the Electric from NVI 40, so despite it being the same as a card that was printed back in whatever set NVI is, Noble Victories, I believe. If I got that right, it is solely because of a meme within my friend group within Pokemon that I wasn't even around for. I've just heard references. So, might be a little impressed with myself. Let me know in the comments down below. It has been ruled that this is a not one-to-one reprint because of the change in templating for the effect of Dynamotor, which now specifically includes the word basic. It is Noble Victories. It says right down there. Cool. will not be legal in standard format following this card's release. Unfortunate for all the people who spent like $10 on that version of the card when this first dropped because it spiked in price. Like we could pull that up, and I kind of want to. Let's do that real quick. TCG player. Electric. And Pokemon. Vivid Voltage, Fusion Strike, Noble Victories. So if we click on it. Oh, there we go. Why? Okay, there we go. So yeah, 3 months. I swear this thing spiked in price. Huh. It might have just been the market value or like what it was getting listed for, but not what it actually sold at. Oh well. But yeah, Dynamotor, pretty cool. The Electros is not good at all, in my opinion. Like you would never really play this. Maybe if we get an Electros like Mega in the future or something, you could tie it in the same way some people did with the Ampharos and the Flaffy. But it's just this one's not good. Stunfisk. If you like Stunfisk, you're gonna want the card, but that's about it. Thunderous. Search deck for basic lightning. Attach it to this Pokemon and shuffle your deck. Okay, cool. 110 damage. Discard energy from this Pokemon. It's just there's better ones of Thunderous. I guarantee there are to play in any format than that. I will say the artwork though was really good on it. So Zekrom, the exact same thing as Reshiram and Kyurem in terms of 230 HP, color slash for 50 damage, or its typing, in this case lightning, colorless, voltage burst. Even the names are like something burst, 130 plus, and it has to do with prize cards. I like this. I like how they themed these three, like this trio of Pokemon to be. In fact, does 50 more damage for each prize card your opponent has taken, so it is the exact same effect as Reshiram EX, except it does 30 damage to itself instead of discarding energy. Once again, this is probably your like end of game. You're taking knockout and winning the game for hitting for 330, maybe additional with some other things or cleanup on a Pokemon, so that 330 can knock it out. Since we're getting some Pokemon a little bit bigger than that in the next set after this, which we'll go over in an upcoming video of what has come out, and we'll start doing it as they release, not full set reviews. These will be condensed down some in the future. But yeah, this thing is also going to be really good in Miraidon. I think this and the Dynamotor and Miraidon make it where you can run Miraidon again without having to worry about Joltik Box. I think it's going to be two separate archetypes now, which is really cool to see. Miraidon still having so much impact on the meta this late into its time. It and Charizard and Gardevoir have been like relevant multiple times. They've ebbed and flowed in their time in the meta, which is really cool to see compared to some of the cards that just have a little like flash in the pan. As well as much as Guardy has been a thing, it started off very slow. Where Charizard came in and was like hot immediately, Miraidon was hot immediately, Gardevoir took some time, and since then it's been pretty dominant. But it's just cool seeing the different journeys that they've gone through and how all of them have been like effective in different metas. Woobat and Swoobat. I mean, you can clear your bench some with Swoobat, but it's not really worth it. Sigilif, not really worth it. Muna Musharna, not really worth it. Yamask and Kafagrigus, kind of cool. Yamask, 70 HP, cool. Kafagrigus, elongating Damagerigus, which is just a fun word to say. Damagerigus. Move all damage transfer from your bench Pokemon to one of your opponent's Pokemon. So late game, with like the metas being a thing, megas being a thing in the future, really big beefy boys, I could see this being a thing because it heals them. It leaves a single prizer in the active, and it like takes knockouts on it because it just says to one of your opponent's Pokemon. You don't have to knock out their active. They have a if they have a Pidgeot that you want to knock out, just move damage counters. And unless they have missed energy in play, that doesn't really get around this. So this could see some play in very specific types of decks. I just don't know how much it would see given the fact that it is a stage 1. If this was a basic Pokemon with this effect, I think it would be like utterly broken in certain decks. So I'm glad that it's not, but we'll have to see how it plays out. Gothita and Gothorita, 70 and then 90. Gothorita being 90 is a little interesting. I haven't seen many stage 1 90 HPs like we talked about earlier. It does have where you look at the top 5 cards of your opponent's deck and put them back in any order. So if you're playing against someone and you Iono them and they don't really have a draw engine, hey, Iono to 2, look at their next 5 and just give them the worst card. Like I'm sure there'll be ways to stall out with this. Once again, Relicanth could be used because Gothitelle, once on your turn to spoke on the active spot, you may have your opponent shuffle their hand in your deck and draw 3 cards. You don't even need the Iono. You just put them to 3 and you look at their next 5 and give them terrible cards. And if they don't have a draw engine on board or built in their deck, some decks don't really have that draw capability, then it can really mess them up. And it just also, it doesn't have to be, or this Pokemon doesn't have to be an active spot. Later on, we're going to see Air Balloon. That is a card that's coming back. So you're still able to free retreat this at any point in time. And then if you want to leave it in the active, like I said, you could do that attack and adjust their cards. But just having, like, hey, Iono to 3, even early game, if you Rare Candy into this, put your opponent to 3, knock out a Pokemon, like, they have 4 cards to figure out how to get out of it from turn, their second turn. It could be very, very powerful. I don't know how much of it we would actually see, but it could be interesting. Solosis, meh. Duosion, I mean, it has hey, attack for 1 and evolve. Relentless has, for each of your bench Pokemon, search deck for a card that evolves from that Pokemon, put on that Pokemon to evolve it. So it literally has Team Evo built into it. But it does it for all of them, not just one of them. And then 40 plus damage to 40 each evolution Pokemon in play. So you really set yourself up on a turn, and the following turn you can hit like a truck. Could be interesting for GLC, depending on like everything else that you'd want to run. But if you need a lot of evolutions in a Psychic deck, this could be your way to it. LGM and BKM, not really interesting in any way. Golem and Golett and Golurk, not Golem. Nothing crazy. Some decent artwork. Meloetta is absolutely wild, and then we're seeing the craziness that's about to hit the meta down below. Meloetta, a live debut. If you go first, this Pokemon can attack on your first turn. Once again, it says it can attack, not that it can use Echoed Voice. So it's not just, oh, look, I can hit for 30 my first turn. You can Team Evo your first turn. So going first with a deck playing Team Evo now, like, you don't have to worry about going second or, like, feeling like you're behind. You can go first. Get the Team Evo with, like, Town Store. And then Team Evo your stuff. Or you can Turbo Energize first turn and go ahead and build up that energy so that your next turn is just, like, you're guaranteed to attack harder. Opens up a lot of different plays. It has 1 retreat cost, so that 1 that you attach to your attack will get it out of the active the following turn. It is only 200 HP, so it is a very snipeable two-prizer on your bench, but depending on what deck you play this in, might be able to get it off of the bench or just not worry about it because they're not knocking out the threat. They're knocking this out. The threat's still there and can take an easier return knockout. We'll have to see. Up next, Frillish. Frillish, 80 HP. Thank God they made this thing 80. If it was 70, it would be fully over for us without a doubt in my mind. But thankfully, it is 80 HP. And for a color or for a psychic 20 damage, opponent is item locked. So that alone is already kind of good. And you see it evolves into the big old Pringle Man, Jealous in EX. Ability Sea Curse. As long as Pokemon is in the active spot, your opponent can't play items or attach Pokemon tool cards from their hand. So just no Buddy Buddy, no attaching TM Evo, because like the main way you get around it with the Sea Shadows or with Itchy Pollen, Arven, attach Team Evo, attach Energy, still get the evolution off. Feel not as like, oh man, I got around it. This just says, oh no, you can't even do that. It just stops you. And then it hits for 80 for 2 energy, and if you have at least 2 additional, hits for 160 total, which means in Gardevoir against Dragapult or against Raging Bolt, this is able to one-shot if you have the Clefairy on board. In any deck, but this is mainly being seen in Gardevoir because you can accelerate that energy from your discard, and it's just really good. Definitely think that's going to be something we see in its entire lifespan for a good portion of it, but especially right now with the Gardevoir EX from Scarlet Violet base. Next, we'll get into the fighting types. Roggenrola, Rolla, Boldore, and Gigalith. Gigalith could be a big cleanup in a GLC fighting deck. Other than that, nothing crazy. Sawk, just not really good. Not good in GLC either because it has to attack an EX. Drillbur, 70. It's literally, they did the same thing with this they did with the starters, which is kind of interesting. Hitting for 10, hitting for 30. Excadrill, 270 HP, 2 fighting, 60 damage, also 60 to one of the bench, so 60 and 60. Not bad, but it has that damage counters on it already, so not as free. And then for 3, 200 damage Shred. Or not Shred, sorry, isn't affected by resistance. But I just don't think 200 is enough for 3 energy on a 3 retreat cost Pokemon. If this was like a free retreat, maybe could still tie into some the Garchomp, the Water Terra Garchomp, and you have the other Drillbur that when played from hand, you discard 3 fighting from your deck. You can set this up. It's just not, I just don't think it's that worth it. Timber, Girder, and Conkeldurr, just they're there. Conkeldurr can be a big beefy boy, but other than that, it's nothing crazy. Throw, it does less damage for the retreat cost in your opponent's active Pokemon, so variable damage that you have no control over is kind of mid. Dwebble and Crustle, it just has Sturdy, which is kind of cool, but there's a better Crustle. Maybe play this Dwebble because it's 70 HP. I don't know if the other one is. The other fossil, Archon, is just there, nothing crazy. Archeops is fucking insane. Active spot and rescue board, and then you just switch this out. Choose one of your opponent's evolved Pokemon, de-evolve it by putting the highest stage evolution card into your opponent's hand. So you do that, and then you retreat to something, and you TM Devo. Or you have another one of these, you can just double devolve things. But even better is you can do this, and then Iono, and it gets rid of the evolution from their hand, so even if you aren't able to knock out that Pokemon, they actually have to find it again, where the main thing that we run into with TM Devo is, oh look, they picked it up, they play it right back down. So unless you have the knockouts with damage counters, it's not very beneficial. This gets around that, which is pretty cool. Mienfoo and Mienshao, not good. Terrakion, 50 damage. If any of your Pokemon were knocked out by damage from your opponent's does 80 more. So 130 if something was knocked out. It's not terrible. It's not good. Land Crush, not that good. There's better Terrakions for GLC. Landorus, Attach a basic discard from your basic energy from discard pile to this Pokemon. So again, to this Pokemon's unnecessary, and then you're dealing 10 damage to each of your bench Pokemon. Just not worth it. Cool ass art, just not worth it. Venipede, Whirlipede, they exist. One poisons, the other one does more damage to your opponent's Pokemon is poisoned. Scolipede, if the opponent's an absolute damage or attack, the opponent's Pokemon is now poisoned and can do 180 if it is poisoned. Purloin, Evil Invitation, search deck up to 3 dark Pokemon, reveal them, put them in your hand, and shuffle your deck. Potentially could see some play, but probably not. Lipard, maybe. Nah, I don't think that sees anything. Scraggy and Scrafty, also not that good. Trubbish and Garbodor, I knew everyone was wanting Garbodor to do something crazy. It don't. It kind of ass, which I'm fine with in the grand scheme of things. I'm okay not having the level of craziness that we had with Garbodor in the past, but I know a lot of people were looking forward to that. Sandile, 10 damage, and your opponent discards a card from their hand. Krokorok, 2 energy, 40 damage, your opponent discards 2 cards from their hand. Crocodile, same thing, 60 damage, your opponent discards 2 cards from hand. 120 damage, if your opponent has 3 or fewer cards in their hand, stack does 120 more damage. So you can hit for 240 if they have very little cards in hand, and you're also just discarding cards. So like you can I could see this doing decent in a GLC format. I don't necessarily see it doing well in standard. I'd love to see someone cook with this though, where like a hand control style deck was a thing. But I mean, technically speaking, you could do Sorosix Machination, and you guarantee hit for 240. And you could also do that early on with Krokorok and discard them down to 1 card, and then they just have that in top deck and hope they have a play. So there's things you can do for sure. Zorua, 70 HP, so it's Buddy, which is really nice. Zoroark, Mind Jack, 30 damage. It does 30 for each of your opponent's bench Pokemon. Nothing crazy, but you can hit for 150 and up to 240 if they have a full bench of Area 0. But then for triple colorless, Foul Play, choose one of your opponent's active Pokemon's attacks and use it as this attack. So it is Mew EX, but on a single prizer, which is potentially better, especially with the acceleration energy, which you'll be able to use, ignition energy, which was coming up later. That we'd be able to use with Mew as well. But this being on a single prizer just gives it another option. It also has an attack that is not the copy attack, so that if you don't want to copy something from their active, you can still get an attack off. Oh, God. 80 HP Dano. You're never playing this one until the other ones rotate. 110 HP is Wireless. Still probably not playing this one until the other ones rotate, because you have the one that searches for Pokemon, which is really nice. Another Hydreigon EX, once again 330 HP. This one is also dark, but it's not a Terra type, or it's not a Terrastal, Stellar Terra, whatever the fuck it's called. It's not one of those, so it doesn't have crazy energy costs and different energies. Instead, it's 5 energies to do 200 damage, and during your opponent's next turn, the famed Pokemon can't retreat, so it traps something if you hit it for 200. If your opponent's basic Pokemon, keyword there is basic, so evolutions, this does not affect. Knocked out by damage from an attack this Pokemon uses, take 1 more prize card. So, you're able to potentially take some big turns. You can have Crisis Punch if they have one. If they have one left, you Crisis Punch for however much energy, and you take an additional prize if it's a basic that you're knocking out. The Snipe tool, the Snipe TM, Blindside, 100 damage to stuff, taking on basics, little baby basics. It doesn't say your opponent's active, just opponent's basic, so you can get around that and get some extra prize cards, which is kind of cool. Vullaby is 7 HP, which is nice. Mandibuzz, once on your turn, you may have your opponent reveal their hand and put a basic Pokemon 7 HP or less you find there onto their bench. So you can fill their bench with things that they might not have wanted to put down. I think this would be really good in GLC for some control. And potentially and like some decks that can hit, 60, or it can hit heavy onto the bench and snipe some babies. Could be decent. The S Cavaliers kind of mid. Bisharp is very bad, unfortunately. Parniard's pretty bad. It has during opponent's turn. It has corner. It has metal version corner. So this is actually not terrible. You could play this with Bisharps or with King Gambits in GLC with the no, because it's metal and shit. You wouldn't be able to use the Relicanth. Never mind. Potentially, still something you could do with those in standard. Might cook that up for a bad deck, or like a meme deck on TCG Live. Once these cards drop, we'll have to look and see. Ferroseed and Ferrothorn, not that good. I mean, if you put a bunch of energy on this, maybe you can hit hard in GLC. I don't know how much metal acceleration there is, other than the there's the Magnezone and the not Metagross, Matang. So maybe Clink Clang, just not good. Not good at all. Durant, kind of mid. Our final sort of justice, had no justice done for him. Genesect EX is that guy. Hey, you play an evolution deck with metal Pokemon, like your metal Pokemon evolve in the deck you're playing, Ultra Balls can just get trashed. Unless it's Archaludon, you still want the discard capabilities. But Goldengo, you don't need it. Nest Ball for this guy, search for them. You're fine. This doesn't even have to be in the active. It's just another Genesect card that is going to be played throughout its entire life cycle if there's good partners for it. Yeah, it's just a good card. I think I'm going to try and find a way to play it into a Metagross deck. We'll see how that goes as well. Axew, 70 HP. Search your deck for 2 base energy, then put them in your hand. Not terrible. Fracture, 100 HP, 30, and then 90. Haxorus. It can hit 160 on evolution Pokemon. And then if it's a basic Pokemon, it is knocked out. GLC, I think this thing is really good. It's very similar to a Rampardos that I play in my fighting GLC deck. So I think this could see some play in GLC for sure. The issue is that currently I think Dragon is just kind of big basic and go crazy. But who knows? We can see this change that. Druddigan has Shred for 40. And then for 3 energy, you hope that you roll ahead to do 150. Otherwise, you do 90. It's not that good. Patrak Watchog, nothing super crazy. Yeah. Oh, hey, focus energy, so where you can do 240 if the next turn you flip ahead. So it has to survive. You have to swing and get ahead. Like, just so many things have to go right for this. Patrat, if Procurement was an ability, this card would get played, but it's not. Pidove and Tranquil, nothing too crazy. They fumbled the bag on not giving us Unfazant EX. And yes, it's not Unpheasant, it is Unfazant EX. With that, it happens. It's whatever. Nothing too crazy there. Draw 4 is kind of cool if you want to play it in a normal GLC deck, but still nothing super worthwhile. Audino, I mean, in GLC, 30 damage, draw 2, you have 6 is kind of good. This was Corkscrew Dive in the Garchomp Blaziken deck I took to NAIC. I used it so much because I drew to 6, so Audino is solid. Encino and Cinchino, just not really worth it. Lillipup, Herdier, and Stoutland. Stoutland can hit for 200 for 4 energy, because it does 100 more damage for, having a special energy. But if it was for each special energy it did more, it could be decent. It's not. Bouffalant EX. Boofer is the ability. Love the name. Takes 30 less damage from attacks. Triple colorless, 100. If your opponent's active Pokemon is an EX, it hits for 200. With this, with Bravery Charm, with 2 of the Bouffalants from Surging Sparks. I mean, I think you take 90 less, so you're effectively 310 plus a Bravery Charm. You're effectively 360 HP. I mean, it's pretty good. Like, I don't think it's going to be tier 1 by any stretch of the imagination, but it's a deck that you definitely have to look out for. I can see people playing. Braviary Rufflet, not really there. Tornadus, bad. This is bad. Air Balloon, really good. Antique Cover Fossil. Just like, hey, you need this because of, like, the fossils, we know why they're there. So I'm going to go back to Air Balloon. Took 2 colorless less for Retreat. Hey, we had Rescue Board, which was really good. This just replaces it almost all of the time. Like, I will almost never understand the need to play Rescue Board over Air Balloon. Ever. Like, if I see a deck list that has Rescue Board, I'm like, why is it not Air Balloon? To anyone I'm talking to. Brave Bangle is so good for non-rulebox decks. I believe that the Zorua, Ethan's Typhlosion, Zoroark from this set, Ethan's Typhlosion, Festival Leads, all of those will be playing this in their deck and doing good with it. Sharon is just this, it's just draw 3. It's, you know, the trash. Hey, this is going to be in, we'll probably get Sharon instead of youngsters moving forward in pre-releases for a little bit. Energy Coins. If I was a kid, it'd be hyped to hit one of these against somebody, but outside of that, it's just there. Energy Retrieval. It got reprinted. It's got an eye stamp, so we're going to have Energy Retrieval for the next couple of years. That's all it is. Fennel, heal 40 damage from each of your Pokemon. Don't think there's ever a time this is really necessary as a stadium, or not stadium, as a supporter. Huge misspeak there. As a supporter, it's just not really necessary at any point in time, in my mind. Just play Picnic Basket, unless you're also spreading damage, in which case you're probably playing Monkey Dory. So there's like, there's better things than this. Harlequin, I've said it once, I'll say it again. I'll put a tweet out with this and everything. If I ever run a deck to a regional or an international with Harlequin in the deck list, and note, if it is truly the best play, I will put it in. I will not avoid playing it to avoid this. If it is the best play, as in I need disruption, and this is the only disruption in the format, because come rotation, as of right now, it is the only disruption that is not type specific or your A-spec in Unfair Stamp, then I will dress as Harlequin. I will dress as that hair, like the wig, the nose, the makeup, everything. I'll dress as that if I ever play it in a deck. Each player shuffles their hand into their deck and then flip a coin. If heads, draw 5, your opponent draws 3. If tails, draw 3, your opponent draws 5. So very iffy to want to play it in general, but if it's the right play, I will. Hilda is a busted card. Go ahead and get you 4 SIR or full art Hildas when this comes out at the cheapest price you can, and thank me later. Search your deck for an evolution Pokemon and an energy card, reveal them, put them in your hand, and shuffle your deck. Didn't know it was an evolution, I thought it was just a Pokemon, but even with it being an evolution, there's plenty of things that this works with. Hey, grab your stage 2 and ignition energy and get an attack off. Grab your, like in this, oh hey, grab a Noctowl. Like you just grab a Noctowl and then you get to do whatever you want. Ends plot, Dog Water. I also think the full art is better than the secret rare, but we'll get into that at a later point in time. Pokegear is getting reprinted. Research, however, is getting printed, but it is still G, so it will be removed. This is getting phased out in the next rotation, which is cool to see. I've yet to play without research in the meta, so it'll be cool to build decks around things other than that. Tool Scrapper. Choose up to 2 Pokemon cool cards out your Pokemon in play, yours or your opponent's. Discard them. This makes Garchomp not that good, in all honesty. Unfortunate, but true. And then the energies that I talked about. Ignition. Discard attached to your Pokemon. Discard it into the turn. As long as discard attached to your Pokemon, it provides colorless. If it's attached to an evolution Pokemon, this provides triple colorless instead. So you get it for a single turn, can do some crazy stuff with it. Prism Energy, as long as this card is attached to your Pokemon, provides colorless energy. If Pokemon this card is attached to is a basic Pokemon, it provides every type of energy, but only provides only one energy at a time. So it is just only for basics, and it's luminous energy for just basic Pokemon. But you can have multiple of them on the same Pokemon. So it has some trade-offs. It can't be used on evolutions, so you wouldn't be able to use this in Dragapult. But if you have, a deck with basics that require multiple energy types, you can move multiple of these at the same time. You don't have to feel bad about it. It's pretty nice. So we'll see how it goes. But that's my sort of set overview and review for Black Bolt and White Flare. I'm excited for it. I think there's some really cool decks coming in that we'll get to see at Worlds. Fortunately, some of them I think would do really good if we had the Psyduck, which we do not. That's a whole nother topic that I'll probably do a TikTok on. But I hope y'all enjoyed. If you did, like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what your favorite card that you're looking forward to from this is. Whether it's an art that I'll go over in a separate video or just for playability. Let me know in the comment section down below. I hope to see y'all next time. Peace.